Ooh, what's up, everybody? My name is OMG WTF LOLF2W BRB. Welcome back to more Total Extreme Wrestling 2016. We are playing as the IWC, our own company created in a local to global save. This is technically the third episode, but because the second episode had a little bit of issues, we had to take it down, and of course, I had a feeling, but you never know, I wasn't able to save it. So we are going to be moving on with the third episode. Unfortunately, that means that the first show that we ever did is gone to the wind, I guess. It is in the history book, so I will go over it real quick. But before we go over that, let me go ahead and showcase the roster and our financial situation at the moment. Because you'll see, we did end up making a profit last month. From January, we made a $2,422 profit, thus bringing us up to $6,505. Now, when we started with $2,500. Remember that. And I find this kind of interesting because even before we had our first show, and I explained this in the last episode, hopefully nothing goes wrong in this episode where like the audio just all of a sudden decides to mute. I've left out music just in case that the music was the thing that got me muted, even though I didn't get a copyright strike or anything that alerted me that, my sound was muted. I'm assuming that something happened on my end, but when I went to go render the video, the sound was perfectly fine there. So I have no idea what happened, but let's hope that doesn't happen again this time. But anyway, like I was saying, though, before we even held our first show, we actually got, earned money. We earned money from sponsors and miscellaneous things. Now, of course, we spent money as well, but we still earned money, so the sponsors definitely help. It looks like they definitely help a lot more than they do in the WMMA game, because you don't make money that quick in WMMA, I'll tell you that. In fact, it seems like you lose money a lot quicker than you do and make. But, yeah. We made money. I don't think it's going to be too hard from now on, as long as I kind of keep an idea of how much what I'm spending, at least in the beginning here. But let's go ahead and check out our roster real quick. So we got Alex the Butcher. Alex the Butcher is someone we recently just hired after making the money. So some people were here on the original roster, day one, and then other people we just recently hired to kind of bulk up our roster a little bit more. That way we're not using the same people and running out of matches a little quickly here. So we got Alex the Butcher, who's better known as Giles, I'm not sure, Giles Poison. He's currently one of our upper mid-carders. He's a heel running the Man-Beast gimmick. So he's kind of crazy, I want to say. Then there's Alexis Smirnoff, who I kind of know. I know the name. I remember him teaming with Ivan Koloff, but I can't really remember anything about Alexis Smirnoff. But similar to what his bio says, if you speak French and your English is weak, then it's only logical you end up being a Russian in the ring. Well, I kind of use that logic. It wasn't really, he speaks French and his English is weak. It was more, his last name is Smirnoff, and I'm pretty sure that's a Russian alcohol. So he's going to be our prototypical Russian character, of course. And the main reason why Alex the Butcher was hired, actually, is because both Alexis and Smirnoff, Alexis and Alex both speak French. So I needed them to kind of, that way they didn't feel isolated with the, everyone else speaking English. So both superstars speak French, so I'm hoping these two will be good friends, because if not, then that would suck. Then we have Baron von Heisinger, who, I'm not going to lie to you guys, haven't even booked this guy yet, and honestly, he might be my favorite wrestler on our roster right now, mostly because the gimmick I have for him. He's kind of like a royal German character. Not Nazi. I don't want you guys to think he's a Nazi or anything. He's not a Nazi. He's just kind of, a high-class German character that, thinks he's so much better. I mean, Heisinger just sounds like a German name to me, so that's why I feel he's German. But really, I view him more of like a Julius Caesar kind of character, not like an Adolf Hitler. So he's not a Nazi. He's more like a royal, kind of like Julius Caesar kind of thing. So remember that. But we got Baron von Heisinger right here. By the way, I forgot to mention, Alexis Smirnoff is a mid-carder. He's a heel, and of course he's got the foreigner gimmick. But anyway, Baron von Heisinger, also a mid-carder, working as a heel. and he's got himself the high society cocky gimmick. And I'm sure you guys can tell who's debuted and who hasn't debuted yet by seeing some people with their not rated gimmicks while other people have a rated gimmick. Then there's Bob Clay. He's our referee. I know in the first episode I was a little hesitant on hiring a referee. In fact, I was so hesitant so that I even went ahead and gave John Doe, the character that we're playing as, a little bit of refereeing skill. In fact, I gave him very weak refereeing skill because I figured if I was going to be fair, I'll make him a weak referee and hopefully he'll improve later on, or we'll just hire somebody. So I was going to use John Doe as the referee to kind of work around having to hire a referee, but after getting the sponsorship and all that, and our money increased a little bit, I went ahead and I was like, okay, we can probably afford a referee. So I went ahead and I hired Mr. Bob Clay over here to be our referee. I believe he was the cheapest. So there you have that. He can also work as a road agent. Can he do both? Because if he can do both, I might be able to fire Ernie Mohammed and not use him as a road agent. Guys, let me know if I can use Bob Clay as a road agent as well. I'm curious. Can we use Bob Clay as a referee and a road agent? Can he do both in one match? That'd be awesome. It would save me a good amount of money, and it would also help because having Ernie Muhammad really kind of screws us over with our scheduling right now. Because like all our wrestlers are filled up, and if we were able to get him off, we would be able to work Fridays, and he can just go work his other show. I don't know. That might be a plan. Then there's Bob Roop. Bob Roop, he's upper mid-carder working as a face, and he's got an Iceman gimmick. I went back and forth with Roop here. I wasn't sure exactly what kind of gimmick I wanted to give him. At first, I had him running a clown gimmick because he looks like a clown, and he's got strong weird. But then I was like, clown's kind of generic. And then another thing I thought was, maybe we'll give him like a split personality gimmick. But as I was booking him, I was just like, I just don't. To me, he's just very generic right now. Like, I just feel like he's just, an Iceman. Like a Dean Malenko kind of character, Plus, he can work the Iceman gimmick. He's got a strong legitimate, so it does work out. And I feel like, he's just kind of like a wrestler's wrestler. He's not he's a no-nonsense kind of guy. Maybe a little bit later on we can play to his weird stuff and all that. But right now, even though I want to get creative with the gimmicks and all that, early on right now I just kind of want to get a feeling of how some of the wrestlers are and then maybe move on from there. So then there's Ernie Muhammad. He's our road agent. And then we have George Holtz. Is it Holtz? It's Holtz. George Holtz. He's an upper mid-carder working as a face. And he's got the old school face gimmick. And in fact, he's actually very good at the old school face gimmick right now. And there's Guillotine Gordon, mid-card heel, working as a gangster. Great gimmick, by the way. In fact, I think the plan for Guillotine Gordon is I want to eventually get to a point where we're going to hire more people to play like a gangster / mafia style gimmick. And maybe we'll create our own like mafia stable with Guillotine kind of being the brute and so on and so forth. That's kind of what I think we might do with that, but we'll see where we go. Then there's Jerry Monty. He's working as a main eventer. He's a face. He's got a wrestling machine gimmick. Jimmy Snuka, probably the only recognizable face to most of you guys on our roster here. He's in his rookie year. He was recommended to us, which is one of the main reasons I went ahead and hired him. I think when it comes to recognizable guys like Jimmy Snuka and like a Roddy Piper, for instance, who's also in his rookie year, anybody who's kind of like a recognizable name in real life, I think what I'm going to try to do with them is like really change up their gimmick like to a point where it... See, this is what I don't understand. It told me he had all the requirements to do this, and he doesn't, which... whatever. But we're going to run with it anyway. So Snuka, he is going to be kind of playing a hippie character, which in real life he already kind of was like that happy-go-lucky hippie character. But when I say hippie, I mean we're going the full route with this. Like Jimmy Snuka, excuse me, he's pretty much playing like your typical Jimi Hendrix, like rock star kind of character is what I feel, He's all about having a good time. He's high on life. And, he just... Think of Snuka as kind of like a Jimi Hendrix kind of character, I feel. Even though it's below average, which, again, I don't understand why. Because when I typed in the thing, I went to cool, and I went to face, and I did exclude gimmicks, and it popped up here. It was here, and now it's not. Don't know why, but it's not. We can't change his gimmick yet, though, so we're going to have to just go ahead and roll with it. I would consider maybe making him like a ladies' man instead, because it kind of still goes with the style we're going to do it. But we can't change it yet, so we're just going to have to work with what we have and hope he improves in that area. Out of curiosity, I want to. What does it require? Like, what does he not have? None of this matters. Is it the difficulty of playing it, maybe? I guess maybe the good charisma and the microphone skill, probably. That's probably what it is all that right there. But we'll just work with it. But yeah, he's our hippie character. Then there's Jody Arnold, who, reading a little bit up on Jody Arnold, got me a little interested about him because he's actually pretty big in Arizona, which, of course, that's where I live. So Jody Arnold, in fact, we just hired Jody Arnold, and he's already loyal to the IWC, so that's actually freaking awesome. Jody's probably going to be one of our big stars in the future. I really think so. But anyway, 21 years old, loyal to the IWC already. He's a main event face, and he's working as the blue-collar gimmick right now, so I like Jody a lot. I think he's going to be one of our main stars on this in this company. And he's loyal, which means he'll probably never leave us, which is awesome. Then there's Miss Sherry. Miss Sherry's a manager. She's a heel manager for Ripper Savage down over here, but we'll get to him when we get to him. I hired her because, well, she's good on the mic, and I feel like she'll fit the gimmick pretty well with her Ripper kind of being like that Adonis and her being eye candy, so they want all the eyes on them. The unfortunate thing for Sherry, though, is she's like all booked up. She works like 4 companies, including us, and she's all booked up pretty much. She's available like on the Fridays, like I mentioned before, but the only downside is Ernie Muhammad works then. He's our road agent, and any other time it's every other wrestler is booked up. And if I'm not gonna just we need Miss Sherry, so she might end up getting released if we can't figure out the Ernie Muhammad road agent situation. Because if we can get Bob Clay to be our road agent, then we won't have to worry about Muhammad, I feel, at all. But yeah, there is Miss Sherry. And then there's Randy Tyler. In fact, Randy Tyler's got a lot of stuff going for him right now, it feels like. He's considered a hot prospect in our creative meeting. And a lot of the times he's been kind of eyed out by like the website feature and all that by other wrestlers who's a hot prospect, apparently. That's not why we hired him. We hired him because he's relatively cheap and he's, young. But anyway, Randy Tyler, excuse me, 18 years old, working as an upper mid-carder, and he's a heel with a spoiled brat gimmick. He just looks like a Richie Rich character to me, so he's going to be the typical spoiled brat, I should get everything I want kind of thing. I originally wanted to kind of run him as maybe like Baron von Heisinger's son, but there's no way to have a 30-year-old have a 18-year-old son. It just wouldn't work. Baron would have to have been 12 years old when he was born, so I could have just, worked around it and maybe had him be like his nephew or something, but I didn't want to force it in, so we just kind of ignored that, and I went ahead and have Randy be his own thing. So he's still a spoiled brat, though. And then there's Ripper Savage. He's considered the main wrestler in our company right now. He's a 23 years old, works as a main eventer or as a heel, I should say, and he's got the Adonis gimmick. Below average, though, unfortunately. Does it not fit him? No, it fits him. He just didn't do good with it. So think of him as kind of like the Lex Luger kind of character. He is our main event, our main heel as well. In fact, I believe he's the only main eventer who's a heel. And yeah, Ripper Savage. I have gone ahead and like looked up some of these wrestlers, and I want to watch some of their matches to get an idea of how they were in real life and all that, but I haven't. But looking up Ripper Savage, it seems like a lot of people say he's kind of shit from what I understand. So it'll be interesting when I look up Ripper Savage, because it seems like he has a little bit of I don't want to say controversy around him, but there's a lot of interesting opinions on the guy. And then finally we have Roger Brown, 32 years old, works as a main eventer. He is a face, and he's got the All-American gimmick, so rated as very good as well. So definitely one of our other stars as well. So there we go. that's about what we have there. I guess real quick, let's go over the creative meeting before we jump into the show. Ripper Savage, like I said, is considered number 1, with Jody Arnold at number 2, Roger Brown at number 3, and Jerry Monty at number 4. Our next big things, we have Jimmy Snuka. Hot prospects are Jimmy Snuka and Alex Smirnoff, so apparently Randy Tyler no longer on there. Talk to talk, we have nobody. Showstoppers are Alex the Butcher, Alexis Smirnoff, and Jerry Monty. Ring generals are Jerry Monty, Alex the Butcher, and Alexis Smirnoff. Currently, Roger Brown, Ripper Savage, and Jimmy Snuka are considered hot, while Guillotine Gordon, Alexis Smirnoff, and George Hutz are considered not. No time decline, and here are hidden gems. So these are people that we may hire in the future. Also, some of you guys have given me some recommendations, so I have gone ahead and shortlisted some of them. People like Antonio Inoki, Bobby Heenan, and Harley Race are all on the short list. All these other guys on the short list are relatively cheap guys or people that have popped up as, possible hot prospects in the future. I'm not hiring any of these guys right now because Inoki wants $2,200, Bobby Heenan wants $1,300, and Harley Race also wants $1,300. And I'm not willing to even go over $500 at the moment, so no. But what else can I check out before we jump into the storyline? Oh, let's go ahead and check out some of our storylines. This was our first feud ever. We're running with Ripper Savage taking on Roger Brown. Not Brock. I don't know why I said Brock. Brock Lesnar's debuting early. So that's kind of like our first feud ever right there. This is kind of like our main event feud. I was planning on maybe this feud going into like the world title scene, but now that I have a little bit more main eventers, we'll see where that goes from there. I want to wait a little bit to actually debut any titles and all that, so I have a good idea about who I want to be my first champion and not just some guy that I'm like, here you go, and that's in the history books now, We're then also running Jimmy Snuka taking on Guillotine Gordon, and then we'll be starting Baron von Heisinger and Bob Roop this show. Speaking of shows, let's go over last week's show real quick. So we opened up the night with Roger Brown going over Alexis Smirnoff with an E+ rating. And then we followed up with Jimmy Snuka getting a victory over Guillotine Gordon with an E- rating, thus starting their feud. And then afterwards, Gordon not happy about the shock victory, as I believe it was a flash pinfall. So not happy about the shock victory, goes on to beat up Snuka after the victory there. So D- for that. And then we have Miss Sherry and Ripper Savage bragging that there's no challengers in IWC for them. And then out comes George Holtz. That got an E. Savage beats George Holtz with an E. And then afterwards, Ripper Savage goes to beat down on George Holtz while Sherry just brags. And then out comes Roger Brown, who comes out for the save. Him and Ripper have a little bit of a stare down, and then Ripper backs up with, Sherry kind of backing him up like, we don't need to do this right now. So solid E for that. Ended up getting us a solid E for the whole show in general. We did increase our popularity, but we need a minimum of E heat on our at least 2 storylines here for our storylines to not ding us, I guess. So currently we're achieving that with just one of them. The Snuka Gordon feud got an E-. So hopefully in this one we will go ahead and beat that, I guess. I don't know. So let's go ahead and book the show. I have already booked the show. Don't worry about this. It's only because we have no announcers right now. And there's no reason for announcers to me. So, unfortunately, 3 people were left off the show, that being Alex the Butcher, Jerry Monty, and Jody Arnold. But without further ado, let's move into our first show, I guess, of IWC. Technically second show, but the first show you guys are going to see. We are running in a generic venue. I figure since we're a local company, we're kind of like a backyard company right now. So, there we have that. Anyway, though, we start off with a solid D rating here as the show opens up with Roger Brown and George Holtz already in the ring. Brown goes to speak into the mic and he starts to talk and he says, "Hey, Ripper Savage, last show you showed everyone the type of athlete you really are when you decided to beat down on my friend George Holtz after your match. And then when I come out to show some support, you tuck your tail between your legs and run off like a coward like you are. But that didn't stop my man George and myself from showing up tonight, and we're looking for a fight. So Ripper Savage, get your butt out here and take your beating like a man." So, pretty generic promo there from Brown, as, he kind of explains what happened last week while also saying, you know what, we're ready for a fight. Where you at, dude? So out comes Ripper Savage, but he comes out alone with no Miss Sherry. Remember, Miss Sherry's working somewhere else tonight. And Savage goes, hey now, hold on. I don't think this is very fair. I mean, it's 2 against 1. And then Brown goes, wasn't that what it was last week when you and your little hussy worked together? Where is Sherry anyway? And then Savage responds, hey, that's none of your business where Sherry is. But if you must know, she's out of town for a meeting. But I'll tell you what. You give me till the end of the show and I'll find me a partner and I'll gladly make an example out of both of you. And there we go. It sets up our main event. Ripper Savage is going to go find himself a tag team partner to take on the team of Roger Brown and George Holtz in our main event. So Roger Brown getting better at his gimmick. Got the show off to a strong start. Crowd's hot. Our opening match might not do too well now because I remember I made them work the crowd, but since the crowd was hot for this angle, okay. Gained heat for the Savage versus Brown feud. No worker improvements. We jump into our opening match of the night, which gets a solid E rating here. Yeah, I didn't think that was... I figured so. Anyway, in a bout that had subpar wrestling and non-existent crowd heat, Jimmy Snuka goes over Randy Tyler in 9 minutes 45 seconds with the Superfly Splash. Snuka still not suited to his gimmick, but again, not much we can do there for now. Randy Tyler debuting his spoiled brat gimmick. He got a rating of average. That's awesome. And hell yes, Jimmy Snuka and Randy Tyler have great chemistry, and it showed in their performance. I mean, not really. You guys got a solid E. But I'll take the blame here because, like I said, the match was poorly placed. The crowd were already hot and didn't need working. That's my bad because I assumed maybe the angle might not get the crowd hotter. And, well, it backfired, and I probably shouldn't have had these guys work the crowd. So again, that's my bad. Jimmy Snuka with an E plus in ring performance. Randy Tyler with a solid E. So all in all, though, they had a pretty good match, and they had great chemistry. So that might be something we revisit in the future. Snuka improving in his performance. By the way, we're being held in front of 104 people. That is up from last week, which I think was like 91 or something like that. And then afterwards, an F plus rating as Randy Tyler kind of pulls the whole Christian hissy fit thing. If you remember back in the day, Captain Charisma, Christian used to throw little bitch fits and all that after his matches pretty much anytime he lost. And that's kind of what Randy Tyler did here. He lost his debut match, so what does he does? He throws a little hissy fit in the middle of the ring. I should have won, you know. I was cheating, you know, blah, blah, blah. He making excuses. Typical. Coming up next, we have a F plus rated segment here. Baron von Heisinger stands in the ring with his opponent, Bob Roop, who's already there. And Baron von Heisinger goes to take the mic. And Baron says, and I want to apologize ahead of time to any of my German audience out there if you get offended by my German accent I'm about to do. But anyway, Guten Tag. My name is Baron von Heisinger, and I am the greatest wrestler in the entire world. You Americans are so entitled with your big heads and your egos. So I have come to America to prove to you all that the entire country of America is weak. And I shall start with this gentleman right here. Very, very stereotypical German accent, I understand. But remember, we're in the 1970s. I mean, it may not be right, and we may be from the future, but we got to play to the stereotypes as well. I mean, we got to play to the time we're in, so there might be some things here and there that might be offensive to some, but I mean, I'll apologize now. Nonetheless, though, awesome. Baron von Heisinger got a very good rating on his high society gimmick. That is awesome to me because, like I already said, Heisinger is someone I'm hoping I can get over pretty good. So very good for him. And then Bob Roop got a great rating on his Iceman gimmick. Hell yeah, both superstars getting good ratings here tonight. No worker improvements as we jump into the matchup. Gets a D- rating. Hell yes. D- rating in a decent matchup. Baron von Heisinger defeats Bob Roop in 7 minutes 46 seconds with submission. And also during the match, we had Alexis Smirnoff come in and attack Bob Roop. We're not exactly sure why, but Smirnoff coming in and helping Baron von Heisinger out here to get the victory. This match got the crowd hotter. Bob Roop with an in-ring performance of a solid D. Good lord, Bob Roop's going to be good. Baron von Heisinger with an E-. Gained heat for their feud. No worker improvements. And then afterwards, we move on to a solid E rating here as Baron von Heisinger and Alexis Smirnov team up with each other and just go ahead and start beating down to Bob Roop together. And then they pose together. So are we seeing an alliance here? Is the German teaming up with the Russian? What? Anyway, Alexis Smirnov getting better at his gimmick. Von Heisinger and Roop storyline moves along, but we got a little bit of a foreign alliance forming here, it seems like. And that can't be good. That's no good, as Sonic the Hedgehog would say. And then we go into a D- rating match. Roger Brown and George Holtz already in the ring waiting for Ripper Savage. And out comes Ripper Savage, alone at first, and then he doesn't take the mic, but he sits there kind of smiling, waiting for his opponent, or not his opponent, his partner. And his partner is none other than the Brute himself, Guillotine Gordon. So out comes Guillotine Gordon, and we're getting ready for our main event tag team matchup. Gordon getting better at his gimmick, gained heat for the feud. That's awesome. Let's see what the match itself gets. Main event match, solid E rating here. And a decent matchup. Roger Brown and George Holtz goes over Ripper Savage and Guillotine Gordon in 12 minutes, 43 seconds after Roger Brown defeats Guillotine Gordon with the pinfall after distraction by Jimmy Snuka. So Snuka didn't forget last week. He remembered Guillotine Gordon beating him down. So we have a little bit of a distraction there from Snuka, distracting the Brute himself. And Roger Brown able to take full advantage of that and rolls him up for the pinfall, giving him and George a victory here. So solid E rating here. Roger Brown, off his game, really off his game here tonight. Come on, Roger. It's like that Fairly Odd Parents thing. Roger, no! Bout dragged in the middle with the lack of flow being noticeable, so maybe a little bit too much time for these guys here. Snuka, not suited to his gimmick. George with an in-ring performance of a solid E. Roger, despite being really off his game here tonight, was still the best wrestler, had a D- in-ring performance. Guillotine Gordon with an E-, the worst of everybody here, and Ripper Savage with an E+. And then worker improvements, we have Roger Brown improving in his performance and Ripper Savage improving in his technical. Good stuff all around there as we end off the show. And we get ourselves a solid E rating here. Still not enough interesting storylines going on. Gosh darn it, man. I thought we would have it. So still not enough interesting storylines. Who do we want to compliment? I think we're definitely going to give Bob... We're going to point Bob Roop out as a good example. Where do we get that? Let's point it out as a good example because what a performance for Bob tonight. And I guess let's give some encouragement to Roger Brown and Ripper Savage since they did some good work with the angles here tonight. So let's go ahead and do that. Bob Roop seemed pleased, Roger Brown seemed pleased, and Ripper Savage seemed pleased. So all in all, good stuff. I don't know if I mentioned it. I don't believe I mentioned it. But the name of our shows going forward, at least for now, is just going to be IWC Origins. It's kind of like, the origins of the company. And as a local company, we really don't need to have, names for every single show, I feel. Because eventually I think Origins will be evolved into our TV show and be like our monthly reoccurring, show. Or our weekly show, I meant, not monthly. Whereas, we'll pick up like pay-per-views or maybe like events once we hit like maybe regional or something like that. So that's kind of my plan going forward. We'll probably be running with the one show being Origins until we get to regional. So we got to get past local and small first. So last night we got 104 fans. Feedback's been it was better than you'd expect from a company that tiny. So we're still doing pretty good. Doesn't look like anything special going on here. So before we end off this episode, I'm going to go ahead and check out our storylines. Savage and Brown is still doing good. They got an E+. Snuka and Gordon still at that E- mark. And Von Heisinger and Roop at E- too. So dang it. Dang it, dang it, dang it. Let's look at the finances real quick. I think we should be fine. It says we're under, but I'm gonna say we'll be fine. I'm gonna say we'll be fine. I don't know if I'm gonna run another show this month. I might simulate a little bit forward and see if we've made any improvements or anything or increasing. But I don't know if we're able to financially run 2 shows a month. But I'll see if we're by simulating a little bit further forward. I'll see if we're able to. Anyway, though, that is going to be the end of this episode. Hopefully the audio worked this time, because if it didn't, then that's going to fucking suck. But my name's been OMGWTF, LOTWBRB. Don't forget to share this video with your friends, Facebooks, Twitters, Instagrams. I don't give a damn. Anyone you feel would enjoy my content, give them a share, and let's help make this local YouTube channel become a global YouTube channel. What do you say? As always, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe if you have not already. And if you want to buy Total Extreme Wrestling 2016 for yourself, use the code TEWOMG to get $5 off your purchase. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Here's to hoping this video is not messed up.